All right, so let's go through these four. First of all, number one, we're subtracting. When subtracting fractions, we always need to start by getting the same thing if we don't already have it, and that is a common denominator. And so in this case, my denominators at the start are 2 and 6. Now I see different people get different denominators for this one as their common denominator. Some will use 12. It works. But 6 also works. It's a little bit smaller, a little bit tidier. So I'm going to go ahead and use 6. So in order to make both denominators into a 6, I look at the one that's not, the 2, and I say, what can I multiply it by to get 6? In this case, that's 3. And so whatever I do to the bottom of the fraction, I'm also going to do to the top. So since I'm multiplying the bottom by 3, I'm going to multiply the top by 3. So that becomes 3 6. Now the 1 6, that's not changing because I already had it as over 6. I can now do the subtraction. I end up getting 2 over, and now notice I needed a common denominator. Anytime it has to be the same, that's because it's going to stay the same. So since we had to have them both be over 6, that's because our answer will be over 6. Now I'm not going to stop at this point on this problem though, because you'll notice 2 6, that can be reduced. And so we now need to reduce our fraction. So we say, what can I divide both the top and bottom by? In this case, I can divide both the top and the bottom of that by 2. So I do that. 2 divided by 2 gives me 1, and 6 divided by 2 gives me 3, so there's my final answer, 1/3. Number 2 is addition. Just like subtraction, if you're going to add fractions, you need a common denominator. So I'm going to start by getting my common denominator again. It works the same way, so I still end up with 3 6 plus 1 6 this time. This time I'm adding the numbers on the top instead. So 3 plus 1 gives me 4. And again, it has to be a common denominator because it stays the same. It stays as a 6. And so I got 4 6. Again, reduce it. In this case, divide top and bottom by 2 again. So that gives me 2/3. Number 3, we are multiplying fractions. In order to multiply fractions, we multiply straight across the top, and we multiply straight across the bottom. So on the top, 1 times 1 gives me 1. On the bottom, 2 times 6 gives me 12. That's it. That can't be reduced at all, because there's already a 1 on the top. So that's it. That's your answer. Now number 4. This is dividing. This is the one that, if anything gets a little complicated, this is the one that sometimes people find the most complicated. Because our technique for dividing fractions is that we are going to take the second fraction and we are going to flip it. And when we flip it, it has to be at the same time. When we flip it, the division becomes multiplication. So in order to divide fractions, flip the second and multiply. Because now it's multiplication, just like on the previous problem on number 3. In order to multiply, we multiply straight across the top and straight across the bottom. So 1 times 6 is 6. 2 times 1 is 2. I got 6 over 2. That reduces. I can divide both top and bottom by 2, which gives me 3 over 1. But of course, 3 over 1 is just equal to 3. So I want to give it then as its most reduced, simplified form, so my final answer here does need to be written as 3. And that's a quick run-through, kind of a warm-up getting into the idea of doing the addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division with fractions. Sometimes it can be a little rusty on one or more of these skills, though. So add this to your notes. This is kind of a short summary about how to do each of the different parts. So add this to your notes now.